Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Have You Seen It? Where we talk about movies that we're watching and give our reviews and thoughts about what is popping off in the theaters. So, today we're talking about the movie called Sinners that just recently came out. The log line here is basically a movie about trying to leave their troubled lives behind. Twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. Uh, I'm really excited to dig into this one. But before we start our conversation, I think we're going to kick it off with a little bit of trivia. I don't know who wants to go first.
Mine has to save to the end because it has. Well, actually, it's fine. It has a spoiler, but
I've
it doesn't matter.
I've got a good trivia to kick us off. So what was the code name for the film Sinners? What was the code name that Ryan and the crew used when making this film? Is it A, Delta Blues, B, Grilled Cheese, C, Midnight Revival, or D, Bayou Blood?
I'm going to say Delta Blues. Ooh, maybe Bayou Blood. I don't know.
I'm going grilled cheese. Seems that's the one that stands out as odd.
Just pick which one you want. Bayou Blood.
Okay, I'm going to do Bayou Blood. Yeah.
All right, I'll go with Delta Blues then.
You're on the right track. It is grilled
Is
cheese.
it?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Love it.
I can't remember what his reasoning was for choosing grilled cheese. I think it was just like a comfort food or something like that of his, something that's like quick and easy to make, and he wanted to make a film that was like something that you could get down quick, but it was still really good. So that was his reasoning for choosing grilled cheese.
And what's a code name? When are they using a code name? When they don't
Yeah,
want.
this is gonna
It,
be my
Yeah,
question.
what's the context?
I don't know. I guess because they were trying to keep the movie like on the down low. I guess I don't
Yeah,
know, and
I
didn't
know
want to refer to the
often.
actual name.
Yeah, I know oftentimes like for location type shoots especially they'll use code names so like the public doesn't really find out about what movie it is
Right.
if they're trying to keep
Exactly.
Nice.
people away from the set.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Interesting. Cool. We can jump into what we've been watching. Anybody want to start here, or otherwise I can pull out my.
I haven't been watching a whole lot, but there's two things that I watched recently that both were really good. One was what was the movie called with the in the jail? It just
Mm,
I got to look it up. But the other one was a documentary that just came out. It was Surviving Black Hawk Down, and that was an amazing, three-part series on Netflix. That if you've ever watched the movie Black Hawk Down, one of my favorite war films, super gritty and raw, and I think it was pretty groundbreaking for its time. But seeing the documentary and hearing the perspectives of like Somalis who were literally witnessing it live, filming it, experiencing a part of the militia, and being able to like see both sides of the coin was really really good. And the cinematography is amazing. So that was my favorite documentary that I saw recently.
Hmm.
nice. Anything else? Is that about it?
Um, well, the other one I'm trying to remember too. It
Oh
was
yeah. Is it a new one or an old
uh,
one?
Oh, it just came. Sing
Oh,
Sing. That
Simpsons,
was an
yeah.
amazing
Mm.
movie. Highly recommend.
Right.
True story that of this like rehabilitation program in a prison. Yeah, loved it. Highly recommend.
Yeah, still gotta watch that one. Jared, you haven't watched that one yet, have you?
Haven't, no.
And Jess, did you watch that with Dan or no?
Mm-mm.
So you missed out. Dang it. I'll go next. I'll see your one documentary and I'll raise you two documentaries. So I've been we watched the Martha Stewart documentary on Netflix. It was really interesting just to hear like really the backstory of her life and kind of how she got screwed over with the basically the lawsuit that and she went to jail for. Basically, it was like she went to jail for something that a bunch of other basically white men do all the time. But they didn't go to jail for. That's kind of the idea behind it. But or like, presidents do sometimes, we'll just throw that out there. But it was really good. It was really interesting. It was interviewing her, so she was talking about everything in past tense, but like that's always better when it's like you're actually hearing it from them. So that was good. And then we're also watching the OJ Simpson documentary. It's called OJ Made in America, and this is an old documentary, like older, like 2016, made by like 30 for 30, like the ESPN documentaries. But it's like a series, and I think it's like a total of like 8 hours long, and it's really long, but it dives into him, the murder, and it dives into a lot of like racism and just everything. Basically, you get like an idea of what the America was back then, and it just is really, really solid, and I would highly recommend it. So
Yes, didn't you watch that documentary?
did you?
I watched the new one that just came out, but it sounds like you watched the older one.
So we started the Netflix one. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
We started that one, and I was like, man, this is really sensationalized in the first 2 minutes. And I was like, I know there's a better one. I'm gonna go find that one because that one's just
Oh,
very,
interesting.
very like true crimey, like how new documentaries are. And this one is very like very good classic documentary. So
Hmm.
we got scared away from that one. We're like, this doesn't really feel that like legit. But did you like that one?
Oh, I loved it. I love true crime and I've never like dived super deep into the OJ Simpson case. Like I really didn't know very much about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew he was kind of like an infamous person, and like a notorious, like controversial
Mm-hmm.
figure. And so I feel like the documentary like really pieced everything together for me. And it was like it did a good job of like the nuance of storytelling, but also like what the historical context was, based on the LA riots that were
Mm.
happening at the time, or like just previously before, which I think is part of what uh probably just got missed every time I've heard about it, which I
Yeah.
didn't fully understand like all of the context.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so that's good that they touched on that because it really we're just getting into like the court part. We're on episode 3 and we haven't even been in court yet,
Mm.
and it really like talks about who they pick for the jury, which was mainly black women was like the majority, and that played a lot into like at that point like people hated the cops because of what they were doing, so that really played into how they viewed OJ, and so that is really interesting. But yeah, definitely worth a
Yeah.
watch. That's all I got.
Yeah, I can go next. So my recommendation, I've been watching The Last of Us Part Two, or Season Two, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
which is based on the second game. Played both video games, so it's been fun to kind of see how they've adapted it into a TV show. I think so far with Season Two, I've been really interested because Part Two is the more controversial of the two games. We had much more mixed reviews when it first came out. I've been really curious on like how they've been adapting it to the TV show, and they've been making some really good changes overall for the story so far. But episode 2 had some fun character twists from the game, so it's been fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Dan and I have to catch up on that.
Yeah,
We gotta watch
Yeah.
episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
you
Um,
started the second season though.
mhm.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, haven't really been watching a whole lot lately, but I just recently watched um The Wind Rises, which is not a newer movie. I think it's from like 2013 or 2014. And it's basically like an animated,
It's
it's Studio
Miyazaki,
Ghibli
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
movie.
Mm.
Is it Miyazaki
Yeah.
or is it studio? It's a studio.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was a Studio Ghibli movie, but maybe it's not.
Yeah.
But it's basically about the Japanese, like engineer that was crafting fighter planes for World War II, and it like basically goes. It's really interesting in that like it spans over over years and talks about his life, and I don't know. It was kind of cool. I would recommend it. It's definitely, I don't know, Dan was a little bit bored with it because of the
It's
slow
slow.
pace, but it was also based on a real person, and it was interesting to see kind of how even from him being a young kid up to like where his career led. I thought it was really interesting. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, yeah, some of those Studio Ghibli movies are awesome, but they are very slow, and I feel like I always fall asleep. Like I'm like, this is
because
great.
they're almost like,
I mean,
yeah, the animation is like almost too relaxing sometimes.
hmm
It's
Yeah.
like it's
That's
just
why I
so
It
love
is
it.
really
Oh my
peaceful. Yeah,
calming.
gosh.
hmm
yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, should we do our next trivia? Jared, do you want to go next?
I can go for it. Yeah. So my trivia question is: in the film Sinners, Miles Catton, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but the actor who played Sammy in the film, sang background vocals when he was 16 with Her, and got to open for which band? A. Coldplay, B. Radiohead, C. Red Hot Chili Peppers, or D. Imagine Dragons?
Ooh. I'm gonna say Red Hot Chili Peppers.
That was my guess too.
mm, I'll say Imagine Dragons just because they're like the newest of that group.
Yeah, and he's still pretty
Oh,
young.
that's a good guess.
Hmm
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
I don't.
Coldplay.
Cool.
So
Oh, okay.
he
I
got
thought you were
to
saying
yeah.
Adam got it.
Mm.
No,
That
That's
is what it
huge.
it was Coldplay. Yeah. So he got to basically go on tour and open for Coldplay.
Cool.
Oh my God.
Do you know, Jared, if he's been in any other movies, or was this his debut?
This is like his debut. Yeah, his
Really?
first big
Cool.
film. I think he's been in a couple like TV shows, but this is his first like
Okay.
big like breakthrough acting role. So
Cool. Good for
yeah.
him. Awesome. Well, yeah, we can hop into the main review now. So just a little bit of background again. Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther sequel, which I never saw the sequel, but the first one was awesome. Also directed the Creed movies and some other stuff, but
Mm.
um, yeah, really awesome awesome director who's been doing some good stuff for a while now. So, starring Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, and then a bunch of other people who I've like seen around. Don't necessarily always recognize their names or anything, but um, production it cost them around 90 million to make this, and then for comparison, Mickey 17, which we just reviewed, was 118 million, so less than that, which makes sense. I mean, there's not
Hmm.
as much special effects, and it's just all like kind of
Mhm.
in one location for the most part. um, so for the opening weekend, it earned 48 million US and 63.5 million worldwide. In comparison, Mickey 17, which did a lot worse, did 19.1 million US and 53.3 million worldwide. So closer, not too far off worldwide on both of those. But I read that just this is a little kind of fun fact on that, but it said that this was the biggest opening for an original movie so far this decade. So something that's not a
Wow.
sequel, this was the biggest opening for something that's not a sequel in this decade, which seems kind of crazy to me.
Well, yeah,
Not
I guess
surprising.
with COVID,
Right, that's true.
really shaking things up.
Yeah.
And I had 71 million on the gross worldwide, but
Well,
maybe that's
you
different because it's
you probably
gross.
did what it is now. I just did opening weekend
Mm.
because yeah, I think I
Oh,
saw that
okay.
number too. And then the other stat about it was it's among the biggest openings in recent memory for an R-rated horror film. So yeah, pretty good. Pretty good.
That's true. It is an R-rated film, and that's horror. Like generally, those have a smaller turnout.
Hmm.
Uh, so
So yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying they like this for sure. That's kind of the general thing that I'm hearing out there. But we'll see what we think in just a minute. You did the synopsis, so I don't need to do that. So that's all I got. So general thoughts. I can start since I'm talking. Just keep going. I really love this film. I didn't know what to expect. It's actually really funny because I feel like I watched the first trailer like I wasn't really paying attention. I'm like, wow, this movie looks dumb, like really bad. And then I watched it again. I'm like, okay, never mind. Maybe it's doing something interesting. So I'm glad, Jessica, that you suggested watching it for this. And I just was kind of blown away by it, honestly. The music is a huge part of it, and I think that like steals the show a little bit. All the acting's great, and I just really appreciate that it was kind of a genre film. It was like, something that's entertaining and fun, but also there's like bigger topics that it's touching on. Like, I don't know if it's like saying anything like concrete, but it is at least like interacting with a lot of themes of racism and even religion and things like that. So I just felt like it was a really, really original idea, even though vampires we've seen a million times. Beyond that, it felt original, and I just really, it really worked for me. So
Yeah, I can go
Yeah.
next. So
Oh, go
for
for it, Jared.
yeah, so for me, I like Adam. I really enjoyed it as well. Thought like for me, it's probably my favorite movie I've seen so far this year. In especially in like theater going experience. Saw it last night. Theater was packed at like 10 p.m. for a 10 p.m. screening, which was awesome to see too. So it was fun to see like be there with a packed theater and get the audience reaction throughout the film. It was like you were saying, Adam, like it's a genre film, but it does a lot of different things really well throughout the film. It's really funny, which I appreciated. Also, absolutely love the music. I think it's the best score I've heard in a long time for movies. So I just absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Jess?
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaways are they do not make movies like this anymore. Like Dan and I walked out of that theater and we were just like, they do not make movies like this, especially not horror movies. As a horror thriller fan, I loved it. I thought it was nuanced, it was fresh, it was well executed, incredibly well casted. Like I'll talk about that. But also overall like entertaining. Like it wasn't predictable. It was there was maybe like a corny moment or two, but I think Adam, to your point, like especially for a movie that is talking about so many different things like religion and racism and ethical dilemmas and racial tensions and even just the historical context of racial relationships between different groups. Like I just thought it was really well done and it was nuanced, and I also want to give a shout out, round of applause, to finally a storyline, a horror storyline, where the woman is not gaslit when Annie is having her moment where she's putting things together and then telling them what they need to do and what's going on. Like, I can't remember the last time I watched a horror film where they're not like gaslighting the woman into being like, oh, you're like, yeah, I don't know, are you sure about that?
mhm.
So I want to give a shout out to
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
And moral of the story, like always listen to women when it comes to spookies and they're trying to tell you something. But yeah, I thought that Jack O'Connell, I think is his name, the guy that plays the villain, the main villain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it just I was blown away. Like he had to be doing so many different things in this movie that it required so much range. He was such a great villain. Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah, he was creepy too. Like,
hmm
Yeah.
I was gently, even like when they start playing that like
When they
bluegrass
start,
song,
yeah, when they start
I'm like,
singing, it's
why is
like
this
no,
so creepy right now?
yeah.
Yeah. And like Jessica mentioned, we walked out and we were like, that was awesome. And it was a great movie. It had so much going for it. Like you said, Adam, the music was amazing. The acting, Jessica, like you said, was fantastic. One of the things I just heard that the Oscars is adding a casting director category, and like this movie has to be in that because every single person was fantastic.
hmm
Hmm.
And just like it blended genres. Like I don't think it was like necessarily a horror film. It was also there was like drama, there was action and thriller. Like
Musical.
it was musical. Yeah,
Yeah.
was this a musical horror? I don't know,
Yeah,
but like it
yeah.
was, it kind of it was fluid between genres, which and there were a lot of risks that were taken with this film, like
Mhm.
doing that, or the double acting by Michael B. Jordan.
hmm
But it was so like well executed that it created something really original and fresh that in a world where we're seeing tons of spin-offs and safe options and safe movies, um,
Mhm.
it's been a long time since we've seen something quite like this, and I think that's why it's getting such a reaction from the box office, is because it's just a great movie that's so original that you know can is entertaining for so many different people
Hmm.
for so many different reasons. So
Hmm.
I loved it.
Nice. So we're all
But
kind
I
of on the
also
same
will
page.
say too, I'll also say too, Dan, like I think part of it is like this was when I was watching this and thinking about it afterwards, I was like, the artistry here is like to me, this is what
Yeah.
the storytelling here, like this is what cinema and movies were made for. Like you can tell that there had to be so many incredibly talented, creative people working on this movie to execute it well. Like that whole scene where they're in the barn and they're talking about like how music basically transcends time and
Hmm.
all this stuff. Like the execution of that could have gone really poorly, or like it could have fallen flat. It could have gone a lot of different ways, and I think that was just one example, but there's so many different examples of them just executing, you know they're sticking the landing on so many different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this movie is really going to cement Ryan Coogler as like, not to say he wasn't an exceptional director before with the other stuff that he's done, but I think this is really going to be putting him on this fast track to do big things. Because he wrote this, he came up with this whole thing on his own, um
Yeah.
the idea
I didn't
wise,
know
and,
that.
and did it so well. And I this was the first moment doing like something really original,
Hmm.
that wasn't kind of a play off or a spin off of the Rocky movies or the Marvel universe. So I think this is gonna do a lot for him.
Yeah. I think
Can I
it's,
also just say,
yeah.
like I was describing to somebody the movie I watched, and like by concept, when you describe what the movie's about, it
Right.
sounds so insane. Like
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's like about vampires, but it's also about like Mississippi, and about racism, and like it just sounds
There's
insane
so many
for like
levels to it. Yeah.
I'm thinking about him pitching the movie and like the script. I can't even imagine, but like truly, it's incredibly impressive.
Hmm.
I mean, to your point, Jessica, telling other people, and Adam, you watching the trailer and kind of like,
Right.
I don't know, passing it out. I had the same initial reaction. I watched the trailer and I was like,
Mhm.
this horror, probably not for me. I'm not really into this type of stuff, but I'm glad I went because it was fantastic, and it's not like a horror I've really seen before.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's where it's kind of genre fluid because it isn't a true horror. But yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I like the one thing that's really stood out to me was the first hour of the film where it's just building the world and we're getting to know the characters
Mhm.
and we don't even see anything about horror at all.
Yeah.
And I just was I remember going into it seeing like, okay, it's 2 hour and 15 minutes. Is this going to be a long one? And I did not feel that at all. It flew by, and I
Hmm.
got to the point where I got to the climax of it. Well, like the first climax, I guess I'll say. And I was
Yeah.
like, wait, are we done now already? Like, and there was a little bit more after that, so that worked for me. But I was like, wow, I can't believe that flew by, and the
Mhm.
music definitely helps like push that forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I really like it.
Have
yeah.
Ooh, and I will say, as somebody that like hates like in movies, I always fast forward the musical numbers because I'm like, oh my god, this is such a waste of time. Dan will attest to this. Like anytime in any movie, I loved it. Like there wasn't one moment where I was like, all right, let's speed this up.
have any of you seen From Dusk Till Dawn?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Okay. This movie, so one thing that was really cool watching the movie is like there's a lot of like references I was noticing to other movies. And when I was like researching after the fact, I was like, oh yeah, he totally like was inspired by this movie. So one of the big ones is From Dusk to Dawn, and the big thing in that movie too is like there's a very slow build up at the beginning of the
Hmm.
film.
Hmm.
So it was really fun to see like just how this film progressed too, and just the slow burn at the beginning, kind of leading up into like when things go crazy.
Yeah.
It reminded me of From Dusk Till Dawn, and it was just fun to kind of see another film that kind of went that direction.
Yeah,
Um,
on that note, I know Tarantino wrote that. He didn't direct
mhm,
it, but
yeah.
it this one felt a lot like it reminded me of other Tarantino directed films.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like I mean, just like the blood and how like over the top the blood was reminded me of like Kill Bill and just like it was just kind
Or
of really
Django
cool.
Unchained.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Django very
yeah. He
very
he
much
he
so, yeah.
did say Tarantino was. Coogler said Tarantino was a huge source of inspiration.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
can totally see
even
it as you
100%.
watch it.
even like Reservoir Dogs, where it's like literally like in one, I mean, for the most part, in one location.
Hmm.
That reminded me. Yeah, it felt very Tarantino to me.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I liked all that aspect of it.
Yeah. Cinematography wise, incredible. I thought the camera work was amazing. Like the one takes they
Well,
were doing were so cool,
Right.
and they had a
and
couple in
also
there.
to pull off like Michael B. Jordan having to play both
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah,
I mean, that's I'm sure I was trying to figure out how they did that,
yeah.
and it
They've
sounded
got
like
the one scene where he's like sharing a cigarette, or like
Right.
the
yeah,
twins are
Hmm.
sharing a cigarette. It was like flawless. Like I
And the fight
could
scene
not tell. Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
well, it sounded like they had to do multiple takes, so they would do versions where he was acting things out, and then he'd have to like redo it where he's wearing this camera rig that's like taking every measurement of his face, um, and then he'd have to swap over to the other character and kind of do the same thing. So they had to do like multiple iterations, and they had a techno crane so they could do like repeatable movements, but also they had to like almost the timing had to be pretty much perfect
Yeah.
to be able to enter like
Wow.
that was the amazing part is you never once felt like there was some gimmick to them being the same actor. Like they
Hmm.
felt
Hmm.
like their own unique different person with their own kind of motivations and desires, but there it was so well connected. Like and there was such good chemistry between Michael A. Jordan and Michael B. Jordan
Yep.
that you never noticed
Yeah.
that it was the same actor other than they looked the same. But
Yeah. I will say I agree. It didn't bother me. Like I felt they were different enough, but I kind of wanted it to push a little bit further. And I just like again comparing to Mickey 17, where we have clones and duplicates and whatnot. I felt like the difference in personalities between those were more dramatic, and I really was not thinking it was the same person. But like this one was like they were kind of similar, but it didn't bother me. But I did think like I feel like they could have pushed that a little further. But overall, pretty
I
good.
will say, like, sometimes when it was quicker cuts, it was hard to tell sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
because they had the different
we'll see.
colors, like colored hats and things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
yeah,
some, depending on the shot, it was sometimes took you a second to figure out who it was.
yeah.
But yeah. What else? Anything else you guys want to shout out for that we liked before we get into the
I'll
dislikes?
just say, Jessica, kind of, you already talked about it a little bit, but the like kind of music through time scene was
Yeah.
amazing. Like
Don't
that's
spoil
one of
for
the
me.
Yeah.
coolest scenes
Oh,
I've seen in a
incredible.
movie. That and the Irish jig scene, like some of
Yeah.
the coolest scenes I've seen in a movie in a long time.
Yeah.
I thought that was so impressive. Like he was doing tap dancing, he was having to
Mhm.
sing. I was telling Dan, like, wow, like this guy is so talented, like as an actor, as a villain, as a performer, like
Yeah,
as a musician, low
yeah,
key.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I will say so. We went to a good theater with good audio this time, and I'm very happy we did. For that scene, I mean, I was literally it reminded me of Wicked, where I was like having chills or like looking around, like, oh, is everybody else getting hit by this? Jared, did you say you went to like not as good of a theater, or I can't
No,
remember?
it
Oh,
was
you went to
amazing.
one.
Like it was a 10 p.m. showing last night, but it was packed.
It was
It was
back.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was awesome to see. Yeah,
yeah,
people were loving it. Like people were laughing, people were reacting where they should be. It was cool.
yeah. Like
I will say, oh, go ahead, Adam.
well, just on that note, I don't again I don't want to spoil it because I want people to go and not knowing what this scene is exactly, but
Hmm.
I could see people getting turned off by it because of what it's doing. But it was so good that I didn't even care that it felt like a little bit out of place. It was just like I was just like, wow, this is a cool idea, and I don't even care that it doesn't quite make sense,
Hmm.
but I could see people like maybe
Um,
getting turned off from it, but
yeah, I would. The only other thing I would shout out is probably like Jared was saying, the soundtrack and like the score. I was listening to it all day today. Incredible.
Hmm.
And I loved that some of the creepy sounds, like mix metal, like rock metal
yeah, yeah.
guitar with like some classic, what sounds like 80s, 90s, like classic horror film, like synth type music, but like in a rock. I don't know, like it melded to Dan's point, like it was melding genres there in the movie, but like also music wise, it was just, it was so good. It was like, it's weird, but it works. Like one of the songs in the score is like literally mixing like just all kinds of different sounds that you would never think to put together, but it
Mhm.
works.
Yeah,
So I would shout that out. It was great.
yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And that was composer Ludwig. Goranson, who also composed Oppenheimer,
Oh,
Mhm.
Tenet, Black Panther. He's done some like really big stuff, and I think he really kind of hit a spotlight with Oppenheimer because he won the Oscar for Oppenheimer, right? Or did
not sure.
was that a
Can't
snub?
remember.
I don't know.
Can't
I
remember.
love the Oppenheimer score,
Yeah.
and I think he's definitely going to get nominated for this one. But
He
it,
should.
yeah, it was really really good, and it really helped just elevate the entire experience. I mean, with music being such a core element of the story,
Hmm.
and really, I mean, it was like the backbone of the story
Hmm.
was music.
Yeah.
The fact that the score was equally as amazing just was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
the guy who played Sammy,
Hmm.
incredible.
Oh yeah, very
Yeah,
good.
and
Very,
his
So
first
good.
very
time
good.
ever
Yeah, I
acting. First
know.
time ever acting.
Yeah. But just
But
like his voice, like singing voice, was awesome. It's
yeah,
so good.
Yeah.
yeah, no, totally. And just yeah, like just in general, like I said, there's so many different characters, and I felt like I knew all of them, and they all kind of had
Hmm.
something going on, and I just felt like they felt a lot more authentic and raw than most characters. Just like just like the way they're talking, although it is obviously a historical film, so there's part of that, but it just felt like they were real people, and I totally bought into it like 100%. So it was really
And
good.
you don't always get that from horror. Like
Right,
usually you don't get that from
right.
horror. There's
Hmm.
they skip all the character development and it's just about the like horror scare element. But yeah, like you said, the character development that happened and how you're able to get to know each one was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the casting work here was just like so impressive. Like, I feel like you got that from like you were saying, Adam, like from every single character. It
Right.
wasn't just like, one or two here.
Yeah, and everybody just felt so different. Like Cornbread
Yeah.
was awesome, and or like
Yeah.
the older guy who's a musician, like he felt very
Yeah.
cool, and like
Yeah.
all the women were like the wife. I guess what was it? The wife of Smoke. I want to say, is that right?
Annie.
Annie,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
Yeah, Annie.
she's kind of like doing magic stuff a little bit, and she's got like that
Hmm.
app. Everybody's got their own thing, which is like really interesting. So yeah, it's cool. Any dislikes that people want to throw out here? What didn't work?
I'd say for me, the one thing that pulled me out of a little bit. Can we spoil stuff? Are
Yeah,
we?
I think we're
I
far enough.
thought we
We
could.
can spoil it.
Okay.
So if you don't want
All right.
spoiled, hop out now. But yeah, you're
Yeah.
good.
I'd say the vampire, like the whole vampire battle scene, felt a little rushed to me. Where I was hoping there was a
Oh,
little bit more there. Like I wish they would have like spent just a few. I know it's a long movie, but spent a few more minutes on that. It just felt like everything happened so quick in that scene.
Yeah.
I totally
It
agree.
was.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know.
That was my big thing too. It was like, well, first of all, I got a little confused because I didn't realize what looking for names, Grace.
Mm.
Um, said because she's getting
Yeah.
angry and she
Yeah.
yelled something out. I didn't realize what she said, which was basically
She like
paraphrasing.
invites them in,
She
right?
invites them in because that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
thing. I didn't catch that. So once it jumped into it, they like bust through the doors and it started. I thought that was like a flash forward scene of like this is what could happen if we fight them. And then when it was
Oh,
so the whole time
Dude, me
I was like
too, Adam. Like
you had a
I had the
thought
same
like that
thought.
too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it was
really?
clear.
You guys missed that she was like, "Come on in,"
I don't
I
and
think I
missed
put
it.
it
Yeah.
together.
I missed it.
Yeah, I just missed it a little bit. But so the whole time I was like waiting for it to cut back to the real time, and then when it was over, I was like, "Oh, okay, that was it." But I do agree. Like I felt like that could have been built out more, and it would have been better. Like I don't care, make this thing 2.5 hours. It would have been
Yeah.
fine to
I
me.
feel like
But
they needed to just have like
I
a
don't
couple
know.
like fodder characters in there like that didn't leave where
right,
like they could
right.
just
I
like die
disagree.
basically.
You disagree?
I don't like when like the pivotal point of a movie is like this big action scene. It's
Right.
like, okay, this is the moment that we've been waiting for. Like I love when there's enough around and outside of like the big action moments and the big fight that is like enough to hook you and keep you engaged.
Mhm.
So like as someone that doesn't love super long fighting scenes, I actually was like pretty okay with it. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, thank goodness. Like we don't need to see every single zombie or vampire get killed.
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
and I agree with you, Jeff. And I think that was kind of like almost some of the twist on the vampire approach of like it wasn't quite in your traditional sense. And I love the like temptation scene that happened. Like how
Yeah.
it kind of slow, it went like hardcore action and then slowed down and really like played out some of those moments. Like that temptation scene was so great for me because there was so much callback to like the first 10 minutes of the film where, Sammy's said it, there's the whole setup of his dad is telling him like, you know, the devil's gonna follow you home, and
Mhm.
he read the verse that like First Corinthians verse that was talking about temptation, and then that like comes full circle in that moment. I thought that was so good.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm gonna say something I thought did not work for me. And I know people are going off about it online, so like
Mm.
don't hate on me, but I thought that some of the like dirty talk was a
Yeah.
little, as the gays say, a little corny boots.
Oh.
Like it was kind of cringy in that I was like, do people really talk like that? And I'm like, you know what? I feel like if you really take that kind of like what is it called, like conversation or whatever, and you put it in writing, like and then act it out and all that stuff, like in any context, people flirting I think in real life is a little bit corny boots.
Right.
But yeah, it didn't work for me, even though a lot of people online are loving it and saying like, ooh, like it was freaky, but I was kind of like, some of it I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that it goes there, but and maybe this is more so just like the sex scenes in general. I was trying to connect like why it's there, and I don't feel like I understood why there were so many sex scenes, and they were like we didn't see anything, but they were somewhat graphic, for especially for not seeing it. I was kind of like, what is, I don't know. There's got to be a connection, but I didn't quite get it. It just felt like they were thrown in there because it was a party, I guess. I don't know.
Well, what
I
were the
don't know,
sex
I saw
Is
scenes?
the sex scenes?
there was the one with Sammy,
Sammy?
which there was like some
Oh,
explanation to it. Like that was meant to kind of signify like his stepping into the like
True.
manhood,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
into the real world in a way that's outside of his like what he knows like as a preacher's son.
yeah.
He's really stepping out and like experiencing new things. And there was the one with uh
With Haley.
Stack and yeah.
Yeah, Stack and
And obviously that's like when that's
Mary.
Mary.
things are getting
Yeah,
a little
Mary was the
crazy.
character.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. That is a good point. It is showing that he's kind of like getting out into the world and experiencing it. Although the one aspect about that is like that the woman has a husband, so it's like I don't feel great about it. But at the same time, the movie's called Sinners, so maybe
Well,
that's part of it.
how I interpreted it was they're giving into their
Yeah.
temptations, right? That's such
Hmm.
Yeah,
a
Such a big
core
theme, yeah.
component to the setup, and really Sammy
true.
is like by him going and playing music, he's giving into his temptations and like the sinful path, whatever. And we see that with, him sleeping with whatever the Perline,
Sleeping
and
with,
then
that's
Mary
very
and
light.
Yeah.
and Mary and what was the Stack.
Hmm.
So I kind of saw that is, it's just we're just seeing all of that kind of the culmination of all this temptation and giving into.
Yeah. No, you guys convinced me. That is not a dis. No, that makes sense. Now that you explain it like that. The
But the
last.
dialogue could have been better.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, sure. That's a different issue altogether. But the last dislike I want to throw out there is the credit scene, or like the scene that the credit starts, and then it jumps into a scene. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's a callback to Marvel and like Black Panther. It's almost like a joke, but I was like, just put that in the movie. Like people were getting up and leaving, and I felt like that was really crucial to the whole film. I was like, what the heck?
Now, did you stay for you saw the mid-credit scene? Did you see the
No,
The end
post-credit
no,
credit?
scene?
I didn't.
Because
I didn't.
yeah,
Because
because
there
I
was
didn't
one at
see
the
the
end.
end credit.
I
Did
Yeah,
did.
you did?
Jess was predicting it. She was like, "Oh, I bet you there's gonna be a mid-credit scene." I'm like, "No, there's not." And then I
And
was wrong.
literally, I called, I could feel it. I was like, something's happening here. And then Dan was like, no,
Yeah.
what do you know?
Jared, you said you saw
I
the last
saw it.
one?
Yeah, I
What?
saw the last scene.
I mean, I guess I don't know if you guys care if it's spoiled, but I would like to know just what it is because I'm
What
not
it
gonna.
is.
Yeah.
So it's basically Sammy playing This Little Light of Mine on guitar, on his guitar.
Oh, it's just okay. He's just doing a song.
He's just
Yeah.
doing a song. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, I think, before anything even, technically, it's like before the whole movie
Oh,
Before
even
everything happened.
begins.
Yeah.
Yep.
oh, gotcha. Interesting. That
Playing
Yeah.
in
see,
the
I'm fine with
church.
that because
Yeah.
that's just like a bonus. But the other one like seemed crucial to the plot of the
The
story.
story. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
See,
And the ending,
my
yeah.
my perspective is it wasn't essential to the story because the story was still complete. It was more of a like icing on the cake. And I don't know if that was set up for extending the world, if he's going to like continue to play in this space, because there are a lot of other storylines. Not that I think that he needs to explore them,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
not sure the intention of keeping it separate.
yeah, I think it works if it's. I think the movie works as itself, but if that scene is in there, to me, it just put it in. Just put it in. But like it, like so, it's either like don't have it at all or put it in. Like it's close enough to just like we're like, oh, where is he at? And he's like, no, I'm still not gonna give in to being a vampire. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That was just my thought.
I guess one other thing that we should talk about is a lot of underlying messages that, or themes that were being played with throughout the movie, with racism, with like cultural appropriation. What do you guys think? And religion. I mean, religion was a huge part of this. What do you think about what the film was trying to say?
Yeah, the one line that was really I felt insightful for me was when they're talking about like they came back from Chicago, um, but they came back. They were in Chicago. They went to like World War I, I guess. Yeah, and then they decided to come back to Mississippi, and they're talking to Sammy, and they're like, "Yeah, we've been out there. It's the same out there as it is here." Like basically talking about racism, and it's like because he's like, "Oh, I want to get out there," and he's like, "No, it's the same." Like that was very insightful to me because I think that's a really accurate way to think about that. So, I mean, I was really into everything that was said. I mean, obviously the KKK made an appearance here, and I felt like that was very satisfying how that ended. So yeah, I was into it.
I think there was like an interesting, I saw somebody else talking about this online, interesting conversation about like the moment when there it's that temptation moment, right? And what's his face, the villain is like, oh my god, like we could get back at them, like the KKK was coming for you, bro, like
Right.
let's really mess them up, and like we'll go get them and then they'll be part of this. And then there was an interesting point that somebody made online about how like he's utilizing even his own, like taking away a different kind of freedom to still push his own
Right.
agenda and what he wants to do. But then I had to take a moment and step back and been like, well, actually no. um and that doesn't fully feel all the way satisfactory, but I love how they ended it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Oh, sorry. I was just going to tie into what you're saying with, yeah, like the vampire aspect, because I was trying to figure out, like, why vampires, right? It could be anything. And I was then kind of like thinking about Get Out and how it's almost like, you're coming over to our side, that type of thing. Like, so I thought maybe that was a play in, like, like everybody, does that make sense how I explained that? Like basically taking all the black people and being like, okay, you're gonna be on our side. We're the whites, like you know what I mean? Like in Get Out, it was kind of the same theme there. But I don't know if that was truthfully what he meant by it.
Oh, I saw the vampires. It choosing vampires is almost going back to blues history of blues was created by black people in the South, and then was co-opted by white people and like turned into these different genres. And Remick, who was the villain, he's this white man who's coming in and almost trying to like co-opt what's happening inside the party. And
Mhm.
like so I saw it almost as
Gotcha.
like potentially showcase or like talking about cultural appropriation that's happened throughout so many decades, and how so often white people have come in and like taken black culture, black identity, and turned it into their own.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Jared?
You can tell black people wrote, directed, produced, were involved in it, because sometimes I feel like movies that try to get to the level of nuance there without being like corny cheesy, like we're talking about, like you can tell that this was from people that know what they're talking about
Right.
when they're talking about
Mm-hmm.
all of these intersectionalities between, like you said, there's even a moment where they're talking about the religion thing and like religion versus blues, right? When the older guy is talking about how like that religion stuff came from somewhere else, this is ours that we're bringing from like the deepest of roots. So anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add beyond what you guys have said already, but I think just a little kind of one of the plots in the film that was interesting was with Mary and is it Stack or Smoke? I can't remember now.
Mm-hmm.
Stack, I believe.
Stack, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, and just having like that cut scene or the like extra scene at the end was cool to that they were able to kind of live on and kind of experience a different time beyond like 30s Mississippi.
Mm.
um, and
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool piece to end with for the film.
Yeah, and Smoke kind of has a good ending too. So that was I wasn't quite expecting it to go that route. So that was kind of interesting choice. So yeah,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, should we do star ratings?
sure.
What do you give it?
I mean I'm going 5 star, baby.
Same. 5 out of 5.
I'm a 5 out of 5 too.
I went 5 as well.
Oh my gosh,
Hey,
Our
first of
first
all
full
fives.
five.
that's crazy.
That is.
Wow, cool. That I
Yeah,
mean that's awesome. That's really cool.
it shows how much we've
Eh,
all missed like original movies in
Right.
the
Yeah,
theater.
right.
Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me throw out my trivia before we head out here. Where is it? There it is. Okay, so in 2001, Snoop Dogg starred in another vampire movie created by a black director. What was the name of that film? Options are A. Bones, B. Tales from the Hood, or C. Blackula. Do you know it, Jared? Your face looks like you
I,
know
I
it.
don't.
Okay. And let me give you a preface. So I went to the Alamo Draft House, and they do stuff before the movie that's just like random fun stuff. And they were literally showing trailers to all these sort of movies that were mainly made by like black directors or black creators, but were in the horror genre, and it was really cool. So this was one of them. I was like, wow, that looks interesting.
Is it the? I'm gonna guess the first one.
Okay, Bones was the first one.
I'll go Blackula. just
Yeah.
I was
just
gonna guess
cause.
Blackula too.
Okay. So these, first of all, these are all actual movies. So I didn't make any of them up, but Bones was the one that he was in.
Gotcha.
And yeah, you guys should watch this trailer because I'm like, this looks kind of fun, like ridiculous but fun. So yeah, there you go.
All right. So drop in the comments, DM us, send us a message. What do you all want us to watch next? What do you want us to review? What are your thoughts? What did you all think about Sinners? Thumbs up, thumbs down, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5. We want to know. But yeah, that's it for this episode of Have You Seen It?
See ya.
See you next
See
time.
you.